Well, hey everybody, it's Ralph Sheheen here once again with another GEICO 15-minute Moto Podcast show. And we are on Main Street here in Bike Week in Daytona Beach, Florida. And I'm with my good buddy, Ricky Rachtman, who is legendary in the metal scene, heavy metal, and not just heavy metal motorcycle, but heavy metal music, which is why I'm wearing one of my favorite band shirts, Motorhead, because I also know it's one of his favorite bands. And you gotta love the Maiden shirt.
This is the greatest Maiden shirt for Bike Week, but I have a Motorhead tattoo. The only band tattoo I have is a Motorhead.
Well, as it should be. So listen, Ricky, not only does he love music, but he loves motorcycles. How did your passion for motorcycling begin?
Well, it started a little bit later because as a kid, you know, we used to all go to the Super Bowl motocross in California.
Yep.
And we'd go to the Flat Track, Flat Track at Pomona.
Yeah.
But I was not allowed to have a motorcycle. And all the kids had mini bikes. I couldn't get one until I was older, had a job. I went out and bought a moped, worked my way up, and then through rock and roll made more money, got a Harley Davidson, now ride Indians, and I ride motorcycles obscene amounts, coast to coast 14 times, 4 countries. All I do is ride motorcycles. I love riding motorcycles more than anything, and this season I even get to ride with, I get to work with Flat Track, so it's like,
yep.
I mean, you know, you love motorcycles.
I do.
And you get to talk about it,
right.
You know, so it's the same thing, but I came from the background of rock and roll into motorcycle racing, and I've just been riding motorcycles for, you know, my first Daytona Bike Week was 92 on Headbangers Ball.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly why we decided to come here to do this interview, because there's probably no more rock and roll place for motorcycling at Bike Week than Main Street, across the street from the legendary Boot Hill Saloon. And you know the saying for the Boot Hill?
It's better to be there than across the street.
Yeah, come on in, sit down and have a beer. No, it's come on in, have a beer and take a seat, because you're better off here than across the street, which is,
at
of
the
course,
gas
the
station.
the legendary cemetery.
Better to be at the Buddha Saloon than at a gas station. I never got that, but you know what's great, Ralph? Not only that there's people here, but it's great because we both live very close to each other, and it's been cold, and it feels like okay, we're getting towards spring now.
Yeah.
We got short sleeve shirts on, we're on motorcycles. Like, more than ever do we need summer, do we need to ride motorcycles, and it just feels like, it feels good.
And the freedom of riding, right? I mean, you come down here to Florida and you're able to get out and really enjoy that motorcycle and everything that comes with riding. And I think it really is unifying everybody. And you can see everybody's in a really good space down here this year.
I mean, I'm more of a guy that likes to ride in open roads, sometimes by myself, but it's still good. I love the motorcycle community. I've always felt at home in the motorcycle community. And you're right, people are here because they love motorcycles and they like to go out and party. I mean, let's be really honest. Yes, there's racers at Bike Week. People are here because they love motorcycles and they love to party, and that's okay for me.
So tell me about motorcycling in music. Where do you see, I mean, there's been lots of songs that have talked about motorcycles and so forth and so on, probably the Steppenwolf song being the most legendary. Is there a better one, or is that it?
Oh, God. I'm so sick of hearing that song. You know what song I like? Because you know me, I listen to like heavy music, but to me, the one song that I start every ride with is Rain Over Me by The Who.
Oh, man.
It starts real mellow and then it
Yeah.
just like kicks it. And like, I don't have any Who music, but that one song is just like, you know, it's just like, that's an open road song to me. That's the ultimate riding song. And to me, I mean, it depends. Like, you're riding in this, you're gonna wanna listen to some classic rock. Sometimes I listen to country when I'm riding. A lot of times I don't listen to any music because I love to not think about anything, you know?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I really like about riding a motorcycle is sometimes ignorance is bliss, and you're just out there and you're not thinking about anything. And this is a great time of history to not think about anything.
Yeah. What is it about music and motorcycling for you that comes together and brings both of those passions to one for you?
It's loud, it's aggressive, it's an expression of freedom, whether you're playing your guitar and you're doing certain types of leads, or you're riding a certain type of bike that kind of expresses, you know, they always say when you buy a brand new motorcycle, you know, once you've bought the brand new motorcycle, that's when you're going to start spending money.
Yeah,
Because that's when
true.
you start, I mean, like, look at the things that,
Yeah.
I mean, mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big front wheel neon type of guy.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be playing that song.
I might.
You might?
I might.
I don't know.
But it's just like, it's loud, it's aggressive, and it's very personal. For me, it is.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Music is whatever you want it to be. It's whatever you want it. Sometimes you might want to listen to Aerosmith. Sometimes you might want to listen to Slayer. Sometimes you might want to, ride with no music. I like loud. I like it's kind of edge of your seat type of stuff, I guess.
Yeah. Now, I haven't gotten to know too many people in the music industry, but a few. You know everybody. I've gotten to know a few guys that are really into riding motorcycles. If you had to pick a guy in music who's a big motorcyclist, who would you say is the most rock and roll motorcyclist?
That would be me.
Ah, okay.
Since after we lost Neil Peart,
yeah,
I have the title of riding a motorcycle further than anybody in rock and roll.
That's part of your Ricky's ride?
Yes, every year I've done a charity ride where I go out and I ride everywhere. I mean, coast. One year I just did 48 states.
Yeah.
And it's just me. It's just me on a motorcycle. Sometimes I bring my girlfriend with me, and I raise a lot of money. I've raised close to $100,000. It goes all to the charities,
which is fantastic.
And I don't know where I'm going. I just ride. I'll say, hey. I mean, I remember when in LA, me and the singer Faster Pussycat were like, you want to go get Mexican food? We're like, yeah. So we rode to Mexico, It's just like,
you don't go down the street for that. You got to go all the way to Mexico.
You got to go to Mexico.
Yeah, right.
It's an excuse to ride to Mexico. But there's a lot of guys that ride, but the people that, I've ridden with Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch. We rode in Moab and that whole area right there, which was just beautiful. I've ridden with Billy Duffy from The Cult many times. Of course, Gilby Clarke from Guns N' Roses. I can't tell you how many times I've been to Sturgis and back with him.
Yeah.
And Tammy from Faster Pussycat,
right.
and guys like that.
Yeah, Billy Morrison.
Of course.
Is big into motorcycles. He's now playing. He was with The Cult. Plays at Billy Idol now. Brad Whitford from Aerosmith.
But motorcycles are the great equalizer, I feel. When I'm on a bike and I'm next to somebody, I don't care if they sold 1 million records or if they're bagging groceries. It's like we're out riding and we're enjoying the same scenery and we're breathing the same air and we're having a good time.
Yeah. There were some times in the 80s, in the videos of the 80s, where motorcycles are brought in. It's pretty heavy. Motley Crue with the Girls video. Maybe one of the more classic moments. We got Brett from Poison. They had it in one of their videos.
I think Motley Crue's Girls video did a real lot for Harley Davidson. They didn't ride much. I remember Nicky had a lot of beautiful bikes in his garage.
Yeah.
But they did a lot for motorcycling. They showed this crazy lifestyle in the Sunset Strip riding, and that was good. That was a time when the whole motorcycle culture was very cool. And I think now a lot of people just ride motorcycles because they really like to ride motorcycles.
As I'm down here and I hear the music that's being played around us, I'm actually not hearing a lot of hard rock, which used to be the only thing you heard down here. Do you think motorcycling and music is changing a little bit?
Well, I think it is. I think one thing that I have no problem with is a lot of the hip-hop culture has championed riding motorcycles. The truth is, I just want people riding motorcycles.
Yeah.
And when you've got really big, there's some guys that spend a lot of money to have crazy speakers. Those are the loudest ones, and those are playing hip-hop. You hear everything, you hear everything. You hear the typical Freebird and Steppenwolf, but you'll also hear Metallica and Megadeth, hip-hop, everything,
I guess it really kind of depends on where you are at Bike Week as to what you're going to hear. If you go out to the Broken Spoke, the Iron Horse, Boot Hill, Full Throttle down the street here on Main Street, you're going to hear rock and roll, right? You're going to hear it. The bank here was legendary for rockabilly music. It was a fantastic place to hang out. So I think it really just kind of depends on maybe where you're going.
Yeah.
And even Jackal's playing here this week. So there is some of that
Of course
80s
they are.
metal still live here.
I like it, and the thing is, especially now, a lot of the people that are here at Bike Week are probably 40, 50, 60s, but you've also got kids here, you've got a bunch of younger people here. So you've got all those demographics that are drawn together for the love of riding motorcycles.
So for you, are you more interested in the performance of your bike, the way the bike looks, the reliability if you're a long-distance rider, or because music's such a passion, do you let the engine be the music, or do you like to have a good stereo on your bike?
A stereo is not important to me on a motorcycle because so many times I don't listen to music, which is very odd because that's the only time I don't listen to music. I like to take in everything that's around me. For me, I like to have performance. I really like to have comfort because I'm a bit older. And reliability is ridiculous because even though, for me to go do 20,000 miles a summer is unheard of. I mean, it's not something that's far-fetched, but I also set my motorcycle on fire trying to change a battery. So I like to ride bikes that I don't need to know how to do anything. I mean, I love Indian motorcycles because nothing happens when I'm riding my Indian motorcycle. But the same things happen with all the other bikes I've ridden in, Harleys and Triumphs and Ducatis and Royal Enfields.
But you got a great relationship with Indian. What are you doing with them right now? How's that working?
I am riding their bikes like crazy. And that's what my relationship is with them. I tell everybody how much I love Indians, and when I go to some place like France, there's an Indian there for me to borrow. And I bought Indian motorcycles. I think they've got a cool looking motorcycle,
yes,
a comfortable bike, fast, bitchin'. I mean, that brand's older than Harley Davidson.
Yeah, 2 years, right?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Indian motorcycles. And even though, Harley Davidson is standing out in the crowd and being rebellious, that would be every single person here is wearing a Harley shirt, standing out in the crowd being rebellious. Not putting down Harleys. I've owned many. I've got a Harley tattoo, but
I have a Harley.
In the crowd that everybody is so individuals, they're all riding the same thing, wearing the same T-shirt.
Yeah.
But that's not to put down Harleys, and I'm sure I'll have another Harley.
So you've done so many different things on your motorcycle. You've driven to so many places. Where do you want to ride to? What's the ride you haven't done you want to do?
Alaska.
Except
Ralph, I don't think I'm very good on gravel.
Yeah.
I recently did Johnny Lewis's slide school, a flat track racing school, which was really fun. I think I'm a little bit better, but I will ride to Alaska. I mean, I've been to Mexico to Canada twice. I've been in every single state except Alaska. So I have to do it.
Probably need an adventure bike maybe to really do it the way you want.
I'm not the tallest guy, so and a bike that I can probably pick up. So,
hey, you used to own the Cat House, which is one of the most legendary nightclubs.
Not one of
the legendary nightclub in that Hollywood scene when it was all going crazy.
Yes.
What was the most motorcycle moment you saw at the Cat House?
Well, at the Cat House, we used to always let people park their Harleys in front, and that was when I was one of the elitist Harley-only guys. And I had a beautiful 67 pan shovel Harley Davidson that was eventually stolen that I loved. And it was just great because you'd go to the club, you'd go out all night, you'd get on your bike, and you'd ride through Hollywood with your friends. And there wasn't a helmet law. I do wear full face helmets now regardless.
Yeah.
But we didn't wear helmets back then, and we had our long hair flowing, and it was just awesome. It was great. And at the end of the night, you hear all the motorcycles start up, and at the Cat House, you could tell it was something going on there because you'd see 30 or 40 or more Harley Davidsons all lined up. And that right there looks like, oh, there's something maybe a little bit dangerous going on in there.
Yeah.
And it was a rock and roll club, and rock and roll is supposed to be a little bit dangerous.
It is. And thanks so much for coming and joining me here. I couldn't have picked a better place to do this interview. When I knew we were going to talk, I was like, man, we got to go to Main Street to chat with Ricky. I think this is a perfect location
Well,
for
it's
it.
fun because me and Ralph always talk about rock and roll and talk about, and we don't really, even though we both have this passion, we don't spend a lot of time talking about motorcycles. But
yeah,
this is great, and it's good to see you here. And,
absolutely. Well, thanks for coming out. Have fun riding. Be safe, and crank the tunes up while you're out there doing it. Thanks for tuning in for another GEICO 15-minute Moto Podcast. My good buddy Ricky Rachtman, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, little rock and roll
and
on the show.
Customer.
That's right.
I have GEICO
customer.
insurance. I do.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. You can catch a new episode of the GEICO 15-minute Moto Podcast every month.